I'm waiting for Miss Wilburn, the mother. She was trying to join and fell off. Uh, in the meantime, Kim, you'd unmute.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Hi, good to see you again.
Yes, you too. Been a long time.
Oh, it's been forever.
Yes.
Are you ready, Kim?
I am ready.
Okay, everyone. Kim Bayless is covering for Amy today as our court reporter. Kim and I have known each other a long time. She's a very nice person, very, very patient person. She dealt with me for years and years. So
Yeah.
happy to have you, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call Randall County. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the children. Mr. Adams is with us representing the mother, Miss Wilburn. I'll get back to her. She may be trying to come in on a phone line now. And Miss Mullinax is with us representing the father, Mr. Eagleston, who is with us. I'm going to go ahead and bring the phone line in because she came in first under her name and could not connect. So I just want to see if this is her. Then I'll go down the list of everyone in the waiting room. We'll give it just a minute to see if she tries to connect again. I will watch the room for Miss Wilburn to see if she tries to come back in. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Tiffany Brown as its witness. And
Right.
You filed a court report on May 1st of 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Since the filing of that court report, has the child been placed with a relative?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please share the date that the child was moved?
Last Friday, 5/10/24.
What is, or rather, who is her new placement with?
Her maternal aunt, Tiffany Hunter,
In what city or state is the child now located in?
Canyon, Texas.
And I know that's a recent placement, but is that placement taking care of the child's daily needs?
Yes, I just spoke to placement this morning.
Okay. And is the child in daycare or will she be staying at home?
Today she's not in daycare. The plan is to re-enroll her into daycare.
Okay. And is that placement prepared to take care of all of her physical needs like food and shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they also committed to taking care of her other needs like emotional, medical, and education?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are the parents having visitation with Anna Lee?
Currently, Father Grant Eagleston is.
And how are those visits going for Mr. Eagleston and the child?
They're reported to go well.
Okay. And in regards to the mother, Ms. Wilburn, has she been offered visitation?
She did have one in-person visit. She did go to rehab, which is why her visits had stopped momentarily.
Do we know if she is, what city and state her rehab is in?
She's no longer in rehab.
Can you give us some more details on that if you have them?
It's my understanding that she was kicked out of Senate Court inpatient due to a fight.
And was that the Senate Court location here in Amarillo?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she made any statements regarding whether or not she intends to return to a different rehab?
She has.
And what has she stated?
She is looking into going to a rehab, hopefully out of state. If not, the recommendation is for her to complete an OSAR and all of their recommendations that come with the OSAR.
Okay. Let's see here. Now, have you created service plans for the family, for the parents?
Yes, ma'am.
And do those service plans represent the department's reasonable efforts to reunify?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they aim to mitigate the reasons for removal?
Yes, ma'am.
And very briefly, what were the issues surrounding the removal?
Jessica Wilburn and Anna Lee Eagleston tested positive for illegal substance. So did Mr. Eagleston.
Okay. And are these service plans uniquely tailored to the issues in the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Has Ms. Wilburn had a chance to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And has Mr. Grant had, I'm sorry, I think I gave her Mr. Eagleston's last name. I apologize. Has Ms. Wilburn had an opportunity to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And has Mr. Grant Eagleston had an opportunity to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they both sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, can you please identify two to three issues or services that are uniquely tailored for Mr. Eagleston?
For Mr. Eagleston, we are requesting that he take parenting classes that he participate in a BIP assessment, and that he create a community support to help him if Annalie were to return to his care.
And is that because of the number of hours that he works and?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in regards to Ms. Wilburn, can you please name 2 or 3 issues that are uniquely tailored for her issues?
We are requesting that she complete an OSAR assessment and all of its recommendations, that she also attend parenting class and also participate in a psychological assessment.
Now, in regards to the OSAR, is that a substance abuse assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And in regards to the Batterers Intervention and Prevention Program for Mr. Eagleston, can you explain why we are asking for that service for him?
In my interview with Ms. Wilburn, she made an allegation that Mr. Eagleston has hit her while she was holding Annalie, and she dropped Annalie. I explained to Mr. Eagleston it is just an assessment, and he should take the assessment, and we'll see what recommendations come from that assessment.
Okay. So to clarify, the service that is on the service plan, is it only for the assessment or is it for the program?
The assessment and any recommendations that come from the assessment.
And what was Mr. Eagleston's response to Ms. Wilburn's allegations of physical abuse by him?
He denied it, but he said he would do the assessment just to go through the process of ruling that out.
Okay. Are we asking the court to make these service plans in order of the court?
Yes, ma'am.
And in regard to drug screens, are we asking that either parent be ordered to drug screen today?
Yes, ma'am.
And which parent and what type of screen?
Both Jessica and Grant, just a monitor UA.
Now, you had mentioned that Ms. Wilburn had only one visitation with the child. Has she been offered additional visitation?
She's had one virtual visit and one face-to-face visit. I let her know when she notified me that she was released from Senecor to call the visit monitor to get those started back up. So the visit monitor relays that Ms. Wilburn has not contacted her. Ms. Wilburn relays that she has. And so today I sent out a message to the visit monitor to contact me regarding Ms. Wilburn's visits.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Brown, I'd ordered paternity testing at the last hearing. Do you know, has that been accomplished yet?
Mr. Eagleston will go today and Annalie will go Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right then, Mr. Adams, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Brown, has Ms. Wilburn done any services yet?
She's only attempted the Senecor inpatient, and that's it.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mullinax?
Ms. Brown, when was the conversation that you say Ms. Wilburn told you that Mr. Eagleston hit her?
This was my first meeting with her back in April.
Was that meeting after or before the investigative report was done?
After.
And were you aware that there was an allegation by Ms. Wilburn that Mr. Eagleston was using cocaine that was unsubstantiated or not
Yes,
substantiated?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so there's only the one allegation that's coming from Ms. Wilburn, who's made another allegation that hasn't been proven, correct?
Correct.
And you said that he's going for his DNA testing today.
Yes, ma'am.
And with regard to the other services, in your report, it states that the payment, the 2054s have already been sent. Is that for all of them?
Yes, ma'am.
And so he can start any of those services at any time?
Yes, ma'am.
And was he provided a copy of that service plan with all the contact information for the providers?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, any follow-ups for Ms. Brown?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything further from the department?
Your Honor, the department rests. We do ask for a finding of reasonable efforts to reunify the family made by the department in creating the service plans, facilitating visitation between the parents and the child, as well as communicating with the parents.
Okay, thank you. I will make those findings. Ms. Brown, since the parents have not started their services to speak of, would it be a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of the child to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, sir.
Would it be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to either parent today? All
Yes, Your Honor.
right, thank you. All right, then, Mr. Adams, do you have any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Mullinax?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department's temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is. I know that she's just been placed in the last couple of days with the aunt, but Andy was able to talk to her this morning and everything seems to be going fine.
Okay, all right then. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue Annalise current placement. I'll order the services for each parent as contained in their service plans, and I'll order both parents to complete a monitored UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. Ms. Brown, I assume would that for both of them, would that be at Care Express?
Yes, sir. On Ross Osage.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Mr. Eggleston, if you'd unmute for a minute.
Yes,
Do you have transportation to get to your drug screen today?
yes, the one on
Okay.
Osage.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. If you'll just stay unmuted here, I need to tell you something else too. I need to inform you that the services that are contained in the service plan that you signed, excuse me, they become a court order today. At a final hearing, if you haven't worked those services, then your parental rights could be altered or terminated. Do you understand that?
Yes,
Okay. A little bit different on your part. If it comes back, obviously, if it comes back, you're not the biological father, then you won't be required, obviously, to do any services and you'll be dismissed from the lawsuit. So, okay, Mr. Adams, if you would inform Ms. Wilburn of the her parental rights being altered or terminated if she doesn't complete the services in her service plan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. That will conclude this hearing. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 9:30. Permanency review after final order as well. I assume we're hearing Ms. Mullinax's motion for additional visitation today. Ms. Gutierrez, I showed Ms. Wiggins this to be her case. Is it your case?
I took over maybe a month or two back, Your Honor. So yes, Your Honor, it's my case now.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gutierrez is with us representing the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. And Ms. Mullinax is with us representing the mother, Ms. Stiles, who is also with us. All right, then. Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Keisha Hendrick as its witness. Okay. And did you watch visits during the TMC case as well as after that final order?
Yes.
Okay. And are you the main visitation supervisor for maybe the past year or so?
Yes, I have the exact dates if you need those.
Not yet, but thank
Okay.
you. Are you able to tell us how those visits go for Miss Chitwood? I'm sorry, for the child, August, and mom, Miss Stiles?
Yes, the visits go pretty good. I mean, she interacts with her pretty good. She's late to most of the visits.
Okay. And is that a concern for St. Francis?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear that part.
I think you said but I'm asking if you meant yes.
Yes, I meant yes.
Okay. And each month, about how many visits do you supervise for Miss Stiles and the child?
At least, well, I was only doing weekly, so 4 times a month, but then I had started doing her 4-hour visit. So, like probably about 5-6 times a month.
Okay. And out of that usual number of 5 or 6 times a month, is it typical for Miss Stiles to be late to almost every visit?
Yes.
And are visits ever canceled due to how late Miss Stiles is?
Yes, on occasion.
Okay. And when you say on occasion, do you mean like every month or so, or is that a good estimate for each month?
Yeah, probably at least 1 a month or no visit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
maybe 1 every other month. It just kind of depends. I can't you know what I mean?
okay. When those cancellations happen, does Miss Stiles call before the visits to cancel or after they have started?
It depends. Most of the time it's after they've been started.
Okay. And do you recall any of the reasons that she's canceled those visits?
There's been some times that she's text saying she's running late. She has a flat tire. She doesn't have a ride. And then there was a time, I can't remember the exact date, where she overslept because she was coming in from Vegas and she overslept and she wasn't going to make the visit.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Gutierrez, are you going to have someone else to testify just as to the review hearing part of this?
Yes, Your Honor, I intend to call Michelle Sagal for that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Mullinax, questions?
Yes, sorry, Your Honor, I got kicked out, so I didn't hear the last of it.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if I've. Ms. Hendrick, you said that the visits go well other than Dominique being late. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
When you say she's been late, how late is she, or has she been?
It just depends. Most of the time it's more than 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. There's times that it's been 20 and 30 minutes. And her being late so much has made it to where if she's more than 15 minutes late, we cancel the visit.
And so are her visits, she shows up as soon as the child shows up? Is that what she's supposed to do?
Well, her visits are supposed to start at 9 a.m. And I always get there before 10 to 15 minutes before the visit starts. And she gets there between 10 minutes after 9, 15 minutes after 9, 13, 12 minutes after 9. It just depends. There's been times she's been 20, 30, 23 minutes late, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. It just depends.
Okay, so if you listen to my question, is she supposed to be there when the visit starts or prior to the visit?
When the visit starts at 9 o'clock. Sorry.
Okay, so if she were to be required to show up maybe 30 minutes earlier or something, do you think that would help alleviate the problem that you're having?
Yes.
Otherwise, the visits have gone well?
Yes.
Has there been any reports during your visits that you've supervised that she's acted inappropriately with the child?
No, ma'am.
So other than the being late, that's the only issue that happens with her visitation at all?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram?
What is the current visitation schedule?
She gets every Friday from 9 to 11, and then she was getting Saturday visits for 4 hours, but then we moved it during the week, and it's every other Tuesday she gets 4 hours. And then every week she gets 2 hours.
Okay, so every other week she gets 6 hours.
Yes.
And the off week she gets 2 hours.
Yes.
And
correct.
that's all supervised, correct?
Yes.
So where are we supervising a 3-year-old for 6 hours?
At our visitation house
So
in
there's
Amarillo.
never any go to the park, go to McDonald's, anything like that?
We go to the park.
Hang on.
You're both talking over each other. Ms. Hendrick,
Sorry.
wait till he finishes his question before you try to answer him.
Yes, sorry.
So we got a 3-year-old that's just sitting in an office, basically.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I don't believe that was her testimony. I think, if anything, Mr. Ingram can ask what the visitation house environment is like.
Sustain.
What's the visitation house environment like?
It's set up like a home. We have toys in there. There's couches in there. There's a kitchen where they cook. There's outside area. There's like a little park area next to the house.
Okay, that's witness.
Anyone have further questions for Ms. Hendrick?
I have a couple, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Hendrick, on the visitation that was scheduled for April 19th, did that visit happen?
April 19th of this last year?
Yeah, of 2024.
No, ma'am, it did not.
And what was the reason?
Mom was late to the visit. I was at the visitation house, was inside. Then at 9:15, I left to go to my car to put August in her car seat to leave because Mom wasn't there. I pulled out of the driveway about 9:18 and Mom was still not there at the visitation house.
And for August to have this visitation with Dominique's, do you physically get in the car, drive, pick up August for those visits?
Yes, I do.
Approximately, and then how long is the drive between where you pick up August from to the visitation house?
29 minutes.
And additionally, in that visitation house, is it correct that there are maybe 4 or 5 rooms filled and set up with toys and activities for families?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Anyone else have further questions?
I have questions. Ms. Hendrick, on the April 19th visit, is that the visit that was rescheduled because Dominique contacted my office because she was at the visitation?
Well, she said she was at the visitation, but I never seen her there. I pulled out of the driveway at 9:18 and she was not, there was no sight of her.
So my question is that the one that was going to be rescheduled because she contacted my office?
Yes. And she's already been made up 1 hour.
And with regard to Mr. Ingram's question, you make notes on every visitation that you supervise. Is that correct?
Yes, I sure do.
And have there been times that you have gone with Dominique and August to go to like the AC Park to play or to the Oliver Eagle Park to play?
Yes. Yes.
So they don't just stay at that house all the time?
No, we don't.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else?
I have one clarifying question.
Okay.
Keisha, were you and August physically at the visitation house and Miss Stiles not show up on April 19th?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Right. Ms. Hendrick, if she calls to cancel or if she calls explaining why she's late, does she call you?
Yes.
So she can contact you directly, correct?
Yes. Yes, she sure
Okay.
can.
And if I understand, if she's not late, if she doesn't cancel, if y'all don't cancel because she's late, currently if she's making all of her visits, she'd be getting a total of 12 hours monthly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything further from Ms. Hendrick?
No, Your Honor. We ask that she be released.
All right. If there's no objections, then Ms. Hendrick, thank you for your testimony. I'll release you so you can go about your day's business.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the department calls Michelle Slagle as its next witness. And do you also work directly with Dominique Stiles regarding her case?
Yes.
Did you prepare and file a court report on May 2nd of 2024 for this hearing?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right. So noted, and I have read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Slagle, is the child still in the same placement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's no changes with that. And can you give us a brief summary of how she's doing in that placement?
She's doing well. She's happy. She's healthy. She goes to daycare during the week with no issues. She's sleeping well. She's eating well.
Okay, and can you give us some details on how Miss Dominique Stiles is doing in working with you?
I'm having trouble contacting her as of right now. I've sent a few messages trying to see her this week while I'll be in Amarillo, and sent follow-up text messages with no reply to those. It's kind of hard to see her every month. She'll say she'll be home. I'll get there. She'll tell me I'll be back in a minute. Last month when I arrived, I let her know I was coming. She said, okay. A few minutes before I got there, she said, I'll be back in a minute. She never showed back up. That's also when I was able to visit with the landlord who had stated that she'd been evicted out of the home. As far as services, she's worked the majority of her services, except for her domestic violence support group.
And is it correct that that domestic violence support group was court ordered not only at the final hearing, but also at a permanency hearing?
Yes.
In Your Honor, we offered petitioners exhibit number 1, drug screen results from December of 2023 as evidence.
Objections?
No objection.
All right. Petitioners 1 is admitted.
And Ms. Slagle, did Ms. Stiles have a concerning drug screen in December of 2023?
Yes, she did.
And was that drug screen positive for methamphetamine?
Yes.
And what was her explanation when confronted with that drug screen?
She stated that she felt like it was due to Eric Lopez. She'd been around him doing visitation with King, and she felt like that would be the only explanation of why she could have been positive, was that maybe he was smoking meth and she was in his home.
Okay. Now, additionally, when was the last time you met with Dominique Stiles in her home?
I want to say it was maybe been since December, since I've actually was in the home on Janet Street.
So is it fair to say it's been at least a couple of months?
Yes. Yes.
And additionally, each time you've met with her over the past year or so, have you asked for proof of income?
Yes, ma'am.
And has she been able to provide that during the case or since the final order?
I did get an employment verification from a gentleman named Ted Burrows, but it wasn't proof of income, if that sounds right.
Okay. And in regards to requesting a copy of the lease, is it correct that you've been requesting a copy of her lease since the last final order?
Yes.
And has she been able to provide that?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, we next offer petitioner's exhibit number 2, a judgment of eviction on Ms. Stiles.
Objections?
And Your Honor, exhibit number 2 has a judgment of eviction on someone else too, so I would object to the relevance on that, but I don't have an objection to Ms. Stiles.
Well, I guess I'm looking at petitioner's exhibit 2, and it looks like it's the defendant is Darren Frazee, not Ms. Stiles.
I think there's a second page and it's Dominique, but the
Okay.
one isn't.
All right. So what was your objection?
I don't believe the first one is relevant. I don't know who that person is, and so
I agree with you. Ms. Gutierrez, if you'd like to amend your exhibit to be only the second page that shows an eviction on Ms. Stiles, I'll grant petitioners 2, but if you want page 1, I'm going to deny the whole thing.
Your Honor, I would like to offer only page 2. I apologize for not catching that it was another person's name on that first page. And Your Honor, I can pull that page out and resend as amended, or I can let the parties pull it out. How do you want me to handle it?
That's fine. I'm taking mine out. Everyone just discard the first page, and we'll just write in the second page, write in this petitioner's exhibit 2. And if there's no other objections, petitioner's 2 second page will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Slagle, in regards to Dominique Stiles' living arrangement, do you have a solid answer from Ms. Stiles on where she is currently living?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Does it concern you that you've been unable to view her home environment for the last couple of months?
Yes.
In addition, has she also made claims that her uncle Michael would be able to verify something?
Yes, she has stated that her aunt and uncle have stated she could live with them if she was to get August back.
And does Michael Stiles respond to your attempts of communication?
No, he has not.
In addition to that, the visit that Ms. Stiles missed on April 19th, 2024, is it correct that arrangements were made to reschedule that visit after it had already been canceled?
Yes,
And is it correct that it was canceled due to Ms. Stiles being late?
that's correct.
How do you view the fairness of a child being picked up and traveling nearly 30 minutes to a visit a parent does not show up to?
I don't want to say traumatic for the child, but it's disturbing of their day. August has to travel 30 minutes to Amarillo and then 30 minutes back to Canyon to daycare. So that's quite a haul for her during the day.
And what is the department's position on increasing Ms. Stiles' visitation?
At this time, we would not recommend it due to the being late constantly. She has also been late and no call, no shows on her 4-hour visits when they were done by a different supervisor. And we would also like to be able to see her have employment and housing and do her domestic violence support group to be able to up those visitations.
So is it correct that Ms. Stiles tested negative on her own hair follicle drug screen in the month of March 2024?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, if Ms. Stiles took steps to do her own drug screen, would that drug screen have been random?
I'm so sorry. Can you say that one more time?
If Ms. Stiles did her own drug screen, would that drug screen have been random?
Yes. Well, not random, not through us. No.
Okay. And in regards to services, you mentioned that Ms. Stiles has completed mostly everything but not domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes. And that is an ongoing service. She has asked me how many services she's supposed to do. And I did let her know that until they recommend that she can step out of the class or they have stated she's completed the class or the support group.
Now, in regards to stability of her home life, is that a major concern as well?
Yes, that is.
And would you agree that historically Ms. Stiles' unstable lifestyle has played a big role in the case?
Yes, it has.
Object to leading.
Sustain.
Ms. Slagle, can you identify the major concerns you have had with Ms. Stiles during the duration of the past 2 or 3 years you have worked this case?
The major thing has
Your
been.
Honor, I would object to relevance since the last order.
Overruled. Go ahead, Ms. Slagle, you can answer.
It's stability and income, and having a vehicle. So majority of it is just stability in income and housing.
Okay. And what, if anything, what concerns do you have about domestic violence with Ms. Stiles historically?
Historically, every case we've had, she's had partners that she's had domestic, or they did domestic violence against her. We also had the incident last December of the voicemail where we had domestic violence.
Object to relevance that was testified at the previous hearing.
Your Honor, I believe that it goes towards the department's inability to verify the safety of the environment of Ms. Stiles' home.
I'll overrule the objection.
Please continue your answer, Michelle.
We had the domestic violence incident that happened in December of 22. And since then, we haven't really had a stability of home and employment, and if she has other relationships or not.
Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Mullinex.
Ms. Slagle, you said that you haven't visited her for 6 months at a house. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. No. Since the last time I believe I was in the home was in December of 23. So
Right, and this is
3 months.
Y'all talking over each other.
This is May, right? So that was 6 months ago, right?
4 months ago. See, January and February, I believe I seen her in at the St. Francis office. And in April, I was not able to see her at all. And I have not been able to get in hold of her to be able to see her for May.
So my question was, the last time you saw her in her home was in December, 6 months ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It was December of 23.
And you don't want Dominique to have additional visitation because of her employment and housing, correct?
Yes. Well, yes.
How does the employment and housing affect her having a visit with her child?
I just believe she needs to be able to start working on those things to be able to get those, I don't want to say privileges to see August, but work towards more stability and more services to be able to have those visits.
And you would agree with me that there's no indication that August doesn't do well during the visits, correct?
That is correct.
And so your court report asks for reduced visitation. Is that right?
That is correct.
Why do you believe reduced visitation would be in August's best interest?
I do believe it is hard on August when she is not there on time for those visits. I guess I want to say it's not fair all the way around for the visitation person. We have very limited people that do visits. So when they don't show up or if they're late, it kind of just trickles down to everyone that is working with the case.
And how many times in the past have you requested that Dominique be required to show up early for the visits?
We've never requested that she's been there early. We've just requested that she be there on time.
And so do you think it's appropriate that you maybe ask for her to show up earlier before asking for reduced visits?
Yeah, I believe that would be fair.
And you said that there's a problem with domestic violence, and those domestic violence incidences, Dominique has largely been the victim of those. Is that right?
That is correct.
And so you're blaming the victim for being assaulted. Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to object to argumentative.
Overrule.
You can answer.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that?
Are you blaming the victim for being assaulted?
No, absolutely not.
And you said that she's late to most of the visits. So is that the only thing that's happening that's negative for her at this point, other than the employment and the housing?
The employment, housing, and the domestic violence support group at this time. And then, of course, the failed drug screens that we have every 6 months to a year. It seems like we have them. We have a lot of months in between, and then she'll have a failed drug screen.
Okay, so other than December, when's the last failed drug screen she had?
I want to say the one before that, I believe, was in March of, that would be I want to say March of 23, if I'm correct. I'd have to go back and look. I'm so sorry. I don't have that pulled up. Would you like me to pull that up and look?
Sure, if it's there, easy to get.
It might be. Oh, I might have lied to you, Miss Aaron. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I do not have that. I just have the dates that I've asked her to drug screen. I thought I had the positive or negative beside them.
Erin,
And with, go ahead.
if you give me a second, I can try to find that real quick and then ask the court to take judicial notice of that filing. Are you asking for the last positive drug screen?
I think there was a filing from the permanency report from March 6th of 2023 states that there was a positive drug screen in December of 2022. If you're okay, I'd ask the court to take judicial notice of that filing.
Yes, I'm agreeable to that.
Okay. All right. So noted.
And so that was a year prior to the other one, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. And so you testified earlier that you have seen that negative drug screen for Dominique from March, correct?
That is correct.
And when's the last time that you asked her to drug screen?
I believe the last time was she did a UA in March.
And was that negative as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And so are you asking her to drug screen today?
Yes, we will be asking her to drug screen today.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Anything further from Ms. Slagle?
Yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor, very briefly.
Okay.
Okay. Michelle, what is the permanency plan for August?
The permanency plan for August is relative adoption.
Okay. And has the St. Francis filed a modification asking for the court to terminate the mother's rights that will be heard towards the end of the year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was the filing of that modification in part to help finalize that permanency plan for the child?
Yes, that is correct.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else?
I do have one other question I forgot, Your Honor.
Okay.
Did you say she's attending the domestic violence support group? She just hasn't completed it?
She has not been attending regularly. She said that she is able to attend when she did not have visitation with King, and the majority of visitation was with King was on those days.
And so how many has she attended, if you know?
I do not have an exact number. I have contacted them to try to get her attendance, and I've not received that back.
I pass the witness.
Anyone else?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further from the department?
The department rests, Your Honor. We do ask for a finding of reasonable efforts to finalize the child's permanency plan made by the department in filing that modification to terminate the mother's rights and make the child available for adoption. Additionally, Your Honor, we are asking for a reduction in Ms. Stiles' visitation, considering the time that she is late and the missed visits, and especially considering the unfairness of the child traveling half an hour and being pulled out of school only to not have a visit with Ms. Stiles.
Okay. All right. Then Ms. Mullinax, do you have any witnesses?
Your Honor, I would call Dominique Stiles briefly.
All right. Ms. Mullinax.
Dominique, were you present for the testimony of Ms. Hendrick?
Yes.
And can you tell the court what the issues are that you've been late?
It was mostly transportation, but I do have my car running now, so that's not an issue.
And you're asking for additional visitation with August, is that right?
Yes.
What are you requesting?
They've been promising that like it's gonna lean towards more visitation, unsupervised, like towards where she can come home soon.
And you understand Ms. Slagle has concerns about your employment and housing. Are you employed?
Yes, I'm self-employed. I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing for the last 2 years.
And she testified that someone had given her proof of employment. Is that the same place you're talking about?
Yes.
And what about housing? Where are you living? You don't give an address because we're on YouTube.
My aunt and uncle.
And you heard Ms. Slagle say that he won't respond to her. Do you know why?
Because she usually calls when he's at work.
And is he able to get back to her if she leaves a message, or do you know?
Not between 9 and 5. He works the same job and he drives for the tech dot, like the road. He does like the road construction.
Is your aunt able to contact
until 9 o'clock at night?
Your Honor, I didn't get any of that.
I didn't either. Ask your question again, Ms. Molnax, ask your question again. Ms. Stiles, don't answer until she's through talking.
Is your aunt able to contact Ms. Slagle to communicate with her?
She should be able to, yes.
And does Ms. Slagle have her number, if you know?
That I know of, yes.
Can you go ahead and provide that to her again, just in case?
Yes.
If you were required to be at the house or at the visitation 30 minutes to an hour early, would you be able to do that so that you aren't late?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Stiles, are you willing to hair follicle and urinalysis drug screen today?
Yes.
And you testified just now that your car is working, so you have transportation for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you're living with your aunt and uncle. Can you please provide their names?
Tony and Michael Stiles.
In what city or county do they reside in?
Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. And are you allowed to be in their home when they are not there?
Yes.
Do you have text messages or phone calls from Ms. Slagle that you have not replied or returned to?
Yeah, I think yes.
That's the witness.
Hey, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
Anyone have further questions for Ms. Stiles? All right, Ms. Stiles, you said you've been doing the same job that you're doing now for the last 2 years?
Yes.
And you're self-employed?
Yes.
What kind of work? What is it? Please wait until
I do house cleaning.
Excuse me. Please wait until I'm through with my question before you answer. The court reporter can't take us both down at the same time. So what is it you do that you're self-employed?
I do house cleaning.
On a random basis, or do you work for a company that you subcontract, or how does it work?
It's mostly random. TED I do regularly. It's weekly, but mostly it's random. But I generally get 3 to 4 houses a week.
Okay. And if you've been doing this for over 2 years, have you filed income tax returns in the last couple of years?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have questions for Ms. Stiles?
Your Honor, I have one question follow-up.
All right.
Dominique, have you provided bank statements or anything like that to Ms. Slagle to substantiate your income?
I've provided invoices in the past, and I've asked her. I've given her
my question.
the employment verification. I've asked her if she needed more invoices.
Okay, so those invoices.
I'm sorry?
Those invoices are invoices you create. Is that correct?
And they sign with their phone number. Yes.
And as far as employment verification, is it correct the person that signed that employment verification is a mechanic in the business and not anything to do with the human resources side?
It's not. No, I clean his house. He's my regular house that I clean. Like that was my regular employment. It's not for the business. It's for him.
Objection, non-responsive. Your Honor, I'm just going to pass the witness. It's too difficult.
I'm sorry?
Ms. Stiles, what would you say is your average monthly income?
Monthly, 800.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Ms. Mullinex, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, witnesses?
No witnesses.
All right. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue the department as permanent managing conservator, continue placement as is. I'm opposed to the motion for additional visitation. I do not believe that's in the child's best interest. I do believe it would be in the child's best interest for Ms. Stiles to be required to show up to her visits 30 minutes in advance.
All right. Okay. Okay. Then as far as our placement review hearing, I will continue the department as permanent managing conservator, continue Ms. Stiles as possessory conservator. I will continue August's current placement. I will order Ms. Stiles to both hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I assume at Care Express. We didn't say that, and then I will order that those tests, as soon as received, be filed with the clerk and provided to all parties and directly to my office. I'm going to order that Ms. Stiles appear 30 minutes prior to any scheduled visitation time. And I don't know what St. Francis calls their people like Ms. Hendrick. I've always called them HSTs, but I don't know, but whatever they call that. In addition to showing up 30 minutes early, I'll order that Ms. Stiles contact the person who's going to supervise the visit the next day, the day prior, to confirm that she is going to make the visit. That should take care of any car problems, things like that. So, Ms. Stiles, you understand that there's two things you're going to have to do. The day before any visit, you call the worker. I guess at this time it's still Ms. Hendrick. You contact her directly and say, I'm going to make the visit the next day. And then you show up 30 minutes prior to the scheduled visitation time. Do you understand that, ma'am? She's shaking her head yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. As far as the motion for additional visitation, I'm going to take that under advisement until the drug screen results are received by the court, and then I'll rule by email on that. I'm not going to increase nor decrease her current visitation until I make a ruling on that motion. So, all right. I know there's been a new motion. I know there's been a new motion filed for termination. That's not set that I'm aware of. My next scheduled hearing date is going to be another placement review hearing. I'll schedule that for November 4th, 2024. If something comes up earlier, you'll have to contact our office to try and schedule a hearing on the new motion that's been filed by the department. Yes, Ms. Monax?
Your Honor, I was just going to ask if the visitation supervisor changes that St. Francis be required to let her know within a reasonable time so she can contact the correct person.
Yeah, absolutely. St. Francis will have to notify her who the new person to supervise the visits will be the minute they know that it's going to change and who that will be.
Your Honor, I also have an additional request for a finding of reasonable efforts made by the department to finalize the permanency plan of the child and filing that modification for termination of the mother's rights to help make the child available for adoption.
Okay, I think you already asked for that, and I said I would grant it, but I'll grant that. I'll grant that finding. So,
thank you.
Okay, like I said, we'll see y'all again on November 4th, unless something changes between now and then. For those of you involved, I'll be back. Here we're already late, so I'll be back pretty quick. My understanding is the parties have agreed to a motion for continuance filed by the mother. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Grant is with us representing the father, Mr. Reynolds, who is not in the waiting room that I can see unless I have one person on a Samsung phone. And then Ms. Hayes, Renika Hayes, represents the mother, Ms. Salazar, and she doesn't show to be in the waiting room. I've got Joel Rodriguez and Deborah Coleman in the waiting room.
Deborah Coleman was the original attorney for mom.
Okay. I'll get her in. They're with the same firm, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me get her in.
And I had not been able to talk to Ms. Grant about the continuance and agree. Yeah. Agreed continuance. And so that's why I wanted to have an actual hearing or presence for the court.
Let me just
Your Honor, my client is likely the Samsung telephone. My client is in South Africa.
All right. Ms. Grant, if you didn't know about the continuance, do you need me to put you and your client in a breakout room?
No, Your Honor, I saw that it was filed and I've discussed it with my client and I explained to him that it would likely be granted due to the quickness of this case and he's aware.
Okay. All right.
We don't object to the continuance.
Okay. So I guess, Ms. Hayes, all we're missing that I can see is your client, Ms. Salazar.
Yeah, let me figure. I heard she was having some Zoom issues, so let me figure out.
Okay. Well, we won't wait long because obviously it's your motion and she would not object to it, I would assume.
No, she would not.
Okay. All right. Then Ms. Grant hit on this. Ms. Hayes, on behalf of Ms. Salazar, the mother, filed a motion for continuance saying that she had just recently been retained and had not had time to prepare for the hearing, which I understand other than Ms. Grant, everyone else had already heard about. Let me just run through it to be sure. Ms. Grant, as far as you know, no objection to that motion for continuance?
We have no objection, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ingram, any objections?
No objection.
Ms. Wiggins?
No objection.
All right, then I will grant the mother's motion for continuance. And I guess I must have gotten this from someone. I have a note here to reset it to May 20th at 2:30 p.m.
That's our only docket day in the range. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That docket just came out, Judge, and it is on that docket for that time and date.
All right. Then we will stand in recess until May 20th at 2:30 p.m., at which time we'll take up the adversary hearing. I will note to everyone that we have a date that we have to hear this adversary by on May 23rd, so there will be no additional continuances granted on May 20th. So.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll stand in recess on this case. For any of you involved, I'll be back at 3:30 p.m. to call 2 related Randall County cases with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the father, Mr. Knowles, who is also with us. And Ms. Pelt, the mother, is with us. I will also call cause numbers 692 for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Turman is with us representing the father in that case, Seth Stewart. And again, Diana Pelt, the mother, is with us. Ms. Wiggins, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Judge. It will be Officer Frock, but I was just wondering if Ms. Garcia had popped into the waiting room.
No.
Okay.
Do we need to wait, or do you want me just to let you know the minute she comes in?
If you'll just let her in if you see her, she's just the worker, and I think I can get through the officers without her.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And I know the fathers are in agreement, and I know Ms. Pelt decided not to get an attorney, and I didn't know she was in agreement for the department, so I didn't know if you wanted to chat with her about attorney and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. Ms. Pelt, if you would unmute, please. Now she's connecting to the audio. And Ms. Garcia is in the waiting room.
And I know that, and I don't know if you want to wait for the mom for this, but we are asking for an ICPC home study on Mary Stewart. For Lily, her father is Mr. Stewart, and that's his mother.
Okay. Anybody object to that? Okay.
Absolutely no objection, Judge. Sorry.
All right. I will make a note here to make sure I make that part of the ruling.
Thank you, Judge. And Mr. Turman, what state is she in? So I know to put that on the order.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And she's paternal grandmother to Lily, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Judge, she made a comment in the chat, just says I object.
Okay. Ms. Pelt, you can obviously hear us. If you're not going to connect to the audio, you need to fall off and come back in on just a phone line. And then usually that will allow us to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Are you Ms. Pelt? Are you Ms. Pelt?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. I can come up. You're breaking up a little, I think. Say something to me, Ms. Pelt.
Is that better?
That's better. That's right. All right. Before we get started, Ms. Pelt, I need to give you some admonishments. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, you have the right to ask that the court consider whether or not you're entitled to a court-appointed attorney at no cost to you. Do you understand that?
I do.
Do you want to ask for an attorney?
Yes.
Have you been given the paperwork to fill out to apply for a court-appointed attorney?
Yes, I do have that filled out.
Why did you not get it to the court or to someone else?
Well, because I wasn't expecting to have to do that until Friday.
Okay, well, ordinarily I'd tell you you'd have the right to ask that I postpone or continue this hearing until I've had time to review that, but we're so close to our deadline. We have 3 days. No, we have more than that, but I don't know. We've got a lot of witnesses here. Does anybody object to a continuance?
Judge, I'm going to object just because I do have all my witnesses present, but I understand whatever the court needs to do that y'all need to do.
Well, let's look, Haley, let's look at it. I show that this case has to be heard by May 24th.
And I do know, Judge, we don't have any more time on May 20th.
Okay.
Yeah. Was when you were going to be on town, Judge.
That's fine if it's
What we can do the 22nd at 9 o'clock, if that works with everybody else.
Everybody check your calendars real quick. What day is that, Haley?
It's a Wednesday, and I haven't checked with Rachel, so I don't know if y'all need any, or if y'all have anything set in Judge Baker's court.
Well, I mean, I've asked them to check their calendars. I ought to pick up on that. Ms. Pelt, let me ask you this. I'm going to need to see that paperwork in a hurry. If you have the right to ask that I consider whether or not you're entitled to have me postpone or continue this hearing until I've reviewed that paperwork. We're under the deadline because you've waited so long to attempt to get it to the court. If it's possible, do you want us to continue or postpone this until I review that paperwork to see if you are entitled to a court-appointed attorney?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll just admonish you, this will be the one and only time that I'll do this because this case began on April 26, 2024, and we're already on May 13th. So that should have been done a long time ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge, this is Harry. I've had a vacation letter in for months for next week, except for Monday.
Well, Mr. Ingram, excuse me. Mr. Ingram, can you get somebody to cover for you?
Sure.
Okay.
And Judge, if I, sorry,
Harry, you can just give them your recommendation because we're against the lick log here, but I don't want to have to hear this adversary again because it goes up.
The 22nd works for me, Your Honor.
Okay. Just tell me if it doesn't work for somebody, let me know why.
Judge, I'm concerned. I'm near the top of the trial court docket, criminal docket in the 108 on the 20th. I would hope we might be done by then, but it puts me right. The 22nd puts me right in that area where I'm a bit nervous.
All right. I don't see any way around it. We're going to have to go forward today, Ms. Pelt. You can get that paperwork either to St. Francis or to the department, or you can get it. The best way would be for you to get it directly to my office. I'm in the Randall County Annex at 4320 Southwestern here in Amarillo. But with the conflicts we have and the deadline we have coming, I'm not going to be able to continue it today. We're going to have to go forward today.
Okay. And I want to ask for a transfer to Potter for both of them because both their original cases are out of Potter, I believe.
That's not how it works. They'll be transferred into this case. So, okay.
The custody.
I'm sorry, what?
The prior custody orders and everything?
Ma'am, I can't give you legal advice. I can just tell you that those cases will be transferred into this case, not vice versa. All right. Ms. Wiggins, you stated. Well, that's why it would have been nice if you'd gotten me your paperwork for an attorney sooner. So, Ms. Wiggins, you indicated earlier that both fathers are in agreement as far as today's hearing not going forward. Is that correct?
They're in agreement, I believe, to TMC, to the department placement as is with the ICPC for Ms. Stewart.
All right. Ms. Pelt,
that's correct, Judge.
Since you're having to represent yourself today, what she just said is both Mr. Stewart and Mr. Knowles are in agreement that the department would continue as temporary managing conservator. The children, I don't even know where they're at yet, but the children would remain in their current placement. And then we'd be back here by June 17th to discuss what type of services the department is wanting each of the parents to work. That's what the next hearing would be for. Are you in agreement with that, or do you want to go forward with a hearing today?
Well, I'm kind of confused about the allegations against me. I don't understand those either. And I have proof to prove those wrong. I just not entirely sure what to do with this.
Have you read the affidavit of removal?
Yes, and everything in there is hearsay or not true.
Well, that's for you to, excuse me. That's for you to present to the court. It's not for me to just say, oh, okay, if you don't think it's true, then I won't listen to it. So that's why we're here today.
Judge, I have,
sorry.
I had a suggestion. I didn't know if you wanted to start and stop this hearing. It would give us a little bit more time to complete the hearing and for Ms. Pelt to get an attorney if she qualifies.
Anybody object to doing that? We'll pick the first day available that all attorneys can be there. Or we're going to do that. There's a good chance, the lawyers all know this, there's a good chance we'll do this twice if we don't do that. So.
No objection from my end, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Michelson?
No objection.
Okay. Mr. Ingram?
No objection.
Okay. All right. I want to be safe. You said Officer Frock was your first witness. Do you want to go ahead and call him?
Sure.
Or do you want to call your worker?
I can call my worker and we can find out where the kiddos are placed.
All right, let's do this then. Do we want to pick a date now? Have you subpoenaed all these officers?
I have. If we just pick a date, I can just re-subpoena them or we can announce it in court.
If everybody has if their calendars are available, let's just pick a date right now. Make it easier on everybody. Haley, what would be the next available date?
I'm looking at June 10th.
What day of the week's that?
It's a Monday.
How much do we have set already?
Quite a bit, but their status and permanency hearings. We have one final So I think we could have the whole afternoon to hear this. What do you think, Courtney?
I would agree with
Judge, I can already tell y'all, I'm sorry. I started doing the pavilion civil commitment docket in even months, and June will be that. And Monday, I've got show cause hearings all day long.
What about the 17th, Ryan?
It's every Monday and third. I'm off this month, so I'm trying to remember. It's every Monday and Thursday is when I have show cause hearings on even months. So that'll be
Haley,
June.
can we try Wednesday?
Let's do a Wednesday, Haley.
Like the 29th?
We have a full 29th. We just have to put some adversaries on there. The only other one available is the 5th, or I could get with Rachel and try to find one. The
June
5th. June
5th?
Yes,
What day of the week's that?
Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm good that day.
It's in the middle of our jury trial, which might be going away. So we could tentatively
Well,
start, Judge.
I'll get with Rachel, and I'll just send out an email with proposed dates. That'll be easiest, to try to figure out what would work for them and us.
All right. So, Ms. Pelt, did you hear that?
I did.
We don't know exactly what date it'll be, but I'll tell you, whatever date everyone else can be there, that's the day we're going to hear it. So I would strongly advise, rather than give your paperwork for an attorney to anybody with St. Francis or the department, you bring it straight to the Randall County Annex on Western Street, go up to security. They'll either escort you back to our offices or they'll take the paperwork from you, because there cannot be any further continuances. So, and then it will, if you be sure you give me a good address, a good phone number, and if you have it, a good email address. That's how we'll notify you if you qualified for an attorney, and that's how we'll notify you who your attorney is. If you do qualify, it's solely your responsibility to contact that attorney to set up the appointment. Do you understand all that?
I understand.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Wiggins, go ahead and call your worker, and let's do a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I call Angelica Garcia.
She's frozen.
Okay, let's try again. I'll call Erica Cantrell. She's going to be the St. Francis.
Before we get started, Ms. Wiggins, do we want to let all the officers go?
Yes, that would be great. I'm sorry. Thank you for thinking of it.
Yeah, let me get my list here of your witnesses. Okay, I'll bring in Officer Kelly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Thank all of y'all. Y'all can just drop off. All right, Ms. Wiggins, you may go forward with Ms. Cantrell.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Cantrell, how are you currently employed?
Work for St. Francis Ministries.
And are you the St. Francis worker that's going to be assigned to this case after the adversary hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you already been in communication with Ms. Pelt?
I have.
And you know where the children are currently placed?
I do.
Can you just say where Cora is placed? What county?
Yes, I can tell you the county. Just 1 second. 1 second. I can let you know where Lily is in the meantime.
Okay, and where is she?
Lily is placed in Harris County, and she is currently in a psych hospital in that area.
And just to clarify, the psych hospital and our policy is to not have contact with parents while they're leveling out in the psych hospital. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Ms. Cantrell, excuse me, for my records, did she go straight to that psychiatric hospital, or was she in some other type of facility in Houston and got put in the facility in the hospital?
That's correct. She was placed in a step bed,
Okay.
which is a temporary placement, and then from there she was placed in the psych hospital.
Okay, thank you. I needed that. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, and then Cora's placed in Trinidad County.
What type of facility?
She is placed in a group home.
Trinidad County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Wiggins. Go ahead.
That's okay, Judge. Is that enough testimony, or do you need me to continue on?
Oh, I think I don't want to get into the meat of anything really, since we know we're going to continue it. I do have one other thing to say. Ms. Pelt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, you had sent a chat apparently before saying you objected. I assume that was to doing a home study on Mary Stewart. Is that correct?
Well, not necessarily. I apologize.
Okay.
I guess I just don't know how this works to really answer that, but
Okay.
we can just
Well,
disregard.
Hopefully, by the time we come back, you'll have an attorney and had plenty of time to talk to. Let me ask you, are you currently working?
No, not at this moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
I work, I've been self-employed for 8 years, but with Lily, I'm just picking it back up now and getting my supplies and stuff to start that. Because being Lily's primary caretaker and things being so out of hand really made that kind of impossible to do for a while.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you'll probably qualify, but I can't tell you unequivocally until you get me that paperwork. So please bring it straight to the annex instead of trying to go through someone else.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
They close at 4 or 5.
I think 5.
Okay.
If you can't get there today, tomorrow would be fine.
And she can email it to me too. That's easier.
Yeah. Can you email that to our office?
Yes, I can. I have a fax and a scanner and all that, so I can
Okay. If you
either
got
way.
a scanner, good. Haley, tell her where